Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you everyone for staying with us until the last session. I am Mohamad Fahmi Ikmal bin Ahmad Sparjo. Will continue to be your MC for the last session in IBADAH Camp 3.0. Inshallah, in this slot, we will start our session at 2 p.m. and will end at 3:30 p.m. For this last session, our topic is Mauizotul Hasanah, which will be presented by Ustad Muhammad Ikmal Hakimi bin Muhammad Helni, which is the lecturer of Quranic language department. Inshallah, at the end of this session, we will have a Q&A session. So for all students who want to ask a question, you guys may ask it on the YouTube live chat box. Without killing our time, please welcome Ustad Ikmal Hakimi for the sharing. Wal tafaddal wal mashkuro.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before I start, can I have the access to share the screen?
Yes, you may. Ustad.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Uhayyikum jami'an tahiyatul Islam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are very grateful to be here today. Although we cannot meet each other in the same place, but we can be here online through this live session via CFS YouTube channel for this last session of the IBADAH Camp 3.0, which is this slot will be the third slot of the day. And I'll be talking about Maw'izah Hasanah. But before that, I'm Muhammad Ikmal Hakimi bin Muhammad Helni, and the lecturer from the Department of Quranic Language. So what we are going to touch on or to discuss on this topic, which is Maw'izah Hasanah, throughout this session, which will take us at around an hour and a half, 1 hour and 30 minutes. This session, I don't want it to be a one-way session in which I don't want me, myself, to only talk to you and explain everything. I know that you are not able to talk verbally, but I think you can join this discussion via YouTube live chat box, in which I can read all the responses there. So what are we going to discuss throughout this session? There are three things, which I will start with the first one, which is our life, the life that we live nowadays, the life that we live these days. And then we are going to move on to the second part of the session, which I'll present about, or we will be discussing about the Maw'izah Hasanah, which is the main topic of this session. And then the last one, we'll go to the practical part, which is how can we practice Maw'izah Hasanah in our daily life, and how Maw'izah Hasanah can be implemented in our life as a student, as a Muslim, and as a member of the society. So, but before that, I'll be showing you a few pictures or a few photos in which, once I show you these photos, I want you to write down every single thing that you think or that come to your mind when you see this photo. Can I have your attention with this slide? I need your participation with regards this part of the session. So I'll be showing you the first photo, which is this one. I think all of you know who is this man. And when you see this photo, what comes to your mind? I want you to respond on the live YouTube chat box, so I can read the responses and we can share the responses here. Yes. I think it might be 10 to 15 seconds delay because I'm using this throughout the Zoom and you are listening through YouTube live session. Or there is one of you saying that this guy is love to help people, his humbleness, his kindness, hero. Allah sayang kita. Yes. It is his trademark. So most of you said that he is a very kind-hearted man. Okay, moving on to the next part, the next photo. Once you see this photo, what comes to your mind? You are still responding on the first photo. Moving on to the next photo, the second one. Model, sincere, successful businessman, love to help people. I think this one is still the first photo. Okay, I won't be reading those responses. I think you may read the responses by yourself. And then moving on to the third picture, the third photo. Photo. Tutorial. Funny. Funny and make my whole day. Learn with Kabili. Funny, okay. And then moving on to the fourth photo, which is the fourth picture of the day. BTS male, okay. Okay, if you are good, if you see at this photo MACD, so then you can simply know that it is a BTS male. What about the next photo, just next to this MACD, the butter one? BTS male, okay. Okay, BTS male. So it is BTS male, and why I put the photo, the butter photo here, because butter is the latest BTS song. I think those who have those who love BTS will know about that. And I will go to the last one. What about the last one? Okay, the last one, most of you said about durian kimchi, and there are a few of you talk about cultural appropriation, and there are some of you that I don't think that they know about durian kimchi, so they say that this is tempoyak. So here, when I show you all these photos, when I show you all these pictures, what happened is you tend to describe to you already know who are those people and what are these photos and what how it relates with our daily life. When I showed Ebit Liu's photo, you said that he is a very kind-hearted man. When I show Nilofa and his husband photos, you will relate this photo with the current situation, which is her current what we call that deeds about with regards with the MCO and what something like something that relates with MCO, but somehow when we see this, it somehow reflects that whatever the people has done good, but when he or she did something that disrespects someone or something that is bad, people will tend to look at his or her bad deeds compared to his or her good deeds. So how do you know all of this? Because why? Because we live in a life where we can get any information very fast. When I show you the third photo, which is this black guy, those who really follow the trend will know that this guy will come with something that is very funny, in which he will come up with something that is very simple, but other people will do it very in hard way. But then there are a few of you who didn't even know who is this guy. And with this, and the last two photos or the last two pictures, when we are talking, when I only show you this fruit, durian, and when I only show you this food, kimchi, only durian and kimchi, what do you think about it? You didn't even think it as a food. You think it as someone that who used durian kimchi as his or her nickname, and he has, because of what? Because of he has done something that is very bad in the few days back. So here is what I'm going to talk about. We are now living in this life in which we are living in this Internet of Things world, which we have all those things on internet. We have these all sort of things. We have vast information on internet. We are interconnected with many applications. We are interconnected with many social media or social applications. Although we are now living in a life in which we cannot travel anywhere, but it doesn't mean that we cannot know anything that happened outside of our house. So having this vast information, having this abundant data of everything that happens in this life doesn't mean that we can say something that is very bad, say something bad about someone or somebody that we didn't even know him or her. So here, how this Maw'izah Hasanah must be implemented in our life, how these good deeds must be implemented in our life. We don't even know somebody, we have not even met them in real life, but we can do something that is very bad. It is just something like we have known him or her for such a long time. So that is a very bad thing to do in this life. Yes, we can get all those information. Yes, we can get all those news in internet. But then once we get all those news, all those informations in the internet, we have to look into something, or we have to know that those information, though it is a bad information about them, it is not that you can simply talk badly about them. Yes, people did something wrongly. People will commit something bad, or will commit bad deeds. But then it doesn't mean that you can simply talk about them badly. So we live in this world right now with where the life is full with hatred, full with hate speech, full with something that will make people depressed, something that will make people feel they are being looked down by other people. So we are also live in this world in which the fake news will be disseminated very fast, where fake information can only be reached by all people in this world very easily. So we are living in this world or this life in which our life nowadays, or we are we are somehow attached to this what we call this internet or with social media very bad. So how can we live in this world? We cannot run away from this world. We cannot uh, do something that is against this world, because we have to live with this thing. So how can we practice something that is very good in our life in order to live this life that we cannot run away nowadays? So here, how can here is what I'll be talking about it, today. So first of all, the topic is about Maw'izah Hasanah. I think Maw'izah Hasanah is a word or a term that has been that you have been listening about, that you have heard this term since your primary or your secondary schools, or maybe your primary school if you go to Islamic education or something like that. So, but the problem is, you know this Maw'izah Hasanah. You have learned about Maw'izah Hasanah. You have also been taught about Maw'izah Hasanah since primary schools or maybe secondary school. But how far have you practiced this Maw'izah Hasanah in your life? How far this concept of Maw'izah Hasanah has been implemented in your life? So the first one, before we move on to how can we practice this Maw'izah Hasanah, before we move on to how can this Maw'izah Hasanah be implemented in our life, let us look first at what is Maw'izah Hasanah. So what is Maw'izah Hasanah? Basically, this term Maw'izah Hasanah literally consists of two words, which are Maw'izah and Hasanah. So what is Maw'izah? The word Maw'izah is derived from the word wa'aza, ya'izu, wa'azan. I think that most of you here are from Arabic-based courses. So I think you know what does it mean by wa'aza, ya'izu, and wa'azan, which means advice, guidance, or education. And the word hasana is the antonym of sayyi'ah, which means goodness. Sayyi'ah means something that is very bad. So when we talk about maw'izah hasana, there are two words: advice, guidance, education, and hasana is goodness. So what is really meant by maw'izah hasana? Maw'izah hasana is to live something bad or bad deeds through advice or prohibition. We are going to leave those bad things. We are going to leave those bad deeds that we have done. How do we leave those bad things or bad deeds? By advising, or by advice or prohibitions. So basically, the objective of this Maw'izah Hasanah is that we want to leave something that is bad. We want to leave our bad deeds with the hope that it may soften our soul, with the hope that we can touch the heart of those that we want them to leave something bad or bad deeds. So to implement this Maw'izah Hasanah, actually there are frequently occurs, there are misperception that frequently occurs in delivering lessons or delivering advices to others. So why this misperception happens, or why this misperception occurs? This is because, or this is due to the inappropriate use of lesson or inappropriate use of words in delivery methods. So the concept of Maw'izah Hasanah will be an appropriate method for us to use to advise or to guide someone in order for them to leave something that something bad or their bad deeds. How? By giving them advice, or it can be also by prohibiting them on doing that things. So this method has actually been mentioned in the Quran as a way of conveying messages that can touch the hearts of the people that we want to advise them, or we want them to leave something back, and making them easily absorb the messages that we want to reach them, or we want to give to them. So basically, this Maw'izah Hasanah is a very is a much needed concept to be practiced in our daily life. But we cannot simply do, or we cannot come up with, or we cannot simply practice this Maw'izah Hasanah without knowing how to do this and how to practice this. So because why? Because this concept of Maw'izah Hasanah requires various methods to deliver these contents or these advices, for them to accept and absorb these advices, for them to accept and absorb this guidance, for them at the end of the day they will leave something bad or their bad deeds that they have been doing all this while. So according to the Quran, the concept of Maw'izah Hasanah is a perfect method for delivering something, for delivering advices, or maybe for delivering the lessons, in order to bring them, or in order to bring people closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in order to facilitate people instead of troubling them in doing something that is bad. So it is believed that this is a method that we, or all of us as Muslim, must be the role model for another Muslim, or maybe the non-Muslim. How? As this Maw'izah Hasanah, the concept of Maw'izah Hasanah is known as a method that is used to provide guidance, to teach kindness, either by using languages. I mean, like we can give them advice verbally. It can also be something that is used by, it may be something like signs or maybe body language. And after doing all these things, the objective is that to make them leave bad deeds, and at the end of the day, to make them happy. So it is used to provide guidance. It is used to give them good and acceptable advices, or maybe pleasing, touching, or affectionate advices or guidance, in which they will not feel that we are putting the blame, all the blames on them. So it sounds like this thing is very easy for us to do, which is just by giving advices, or just by telling people that, oh, you have done this wrong and you have to do this, and you have to do, you don't have to do that, you must not you must not do that, you must do this. It sounds like it is very easy for us to do so. But when we are talking about giving advice to somebody or to people, we have to know a few things. We have to learn on how to ensure that our advices can be absorbed and can be accepted by the people that we advise. So through the concept of Maw'izah Hasanah, messages are conveyed using courtesy and dialogue, or maybe it is just something like we call in Malay curhat or curahan hati, so that we are trying to humanizing them again. I mean, like humanizing human again, according to their fundamental characteristics or nature, so that they are willing to do good. What is meant by here is that we are not doing these things. We are not practicing Maw'izah Hasanah just for them to leave something bad, just because they don't want to listen to us every day talking about the same things. But we want them to leave these bad deeds. We want them to not doing this bad deed ever again, just because they are willing to do so, just because they are willing to good deeds, just because they think that doing bad deeds is a wrong thing to do. So we don't want them to leave those bad deeds just because of us annoying them every day by our words, but we want them to listen to our advices, listen to our guidance, so that they think that when they are doing something bad, it is not good for them and it is wrong for them to do that things. It is not that they leave those things just because of us, but it is because they are willing to do so. They are willing to leave all those bad deeds, and they are willing to do the good things. So Maw'izah Hasanah, basically it is a part of human nature. Because why? Because human, they prefer something that is very pleasing, and they hate something that is very frightening. As we have mentioned earlier, that Hasanah here means goodness. It means that when we are giving advices to someone, when we are guiding someone, we have to guide that people with goodness. We have to guide them politely. So that is why we are not only talking about Maw'izah, which is the advice, but we are talking about Maw'izah Hasanah, in which there is an adjective that describe the noun Maw'izah in this concept. So that is why I say that it is necessary for us people as a Muslim to call on kindness and to start delivering lessons or advices by using by sharing, or maybe sharing interesting or enchanting or encouraging hopes to those who need it, or maybe we encourage them to not doing that thing ever again. For example, I give you an example. There is a friend of you, he has done something very bad. Then you come to him and say that, oh, you have done this thing, and and Allah will hate you, and Allah will never forgive you, and Allah will never and you'll never enter Jannah. You will never enter heaven in the hereafter. You will directly go to the hell. Once he listened to these things, now yes, it is an advice. It is you are telling him what what will happen, or what will happen next in the hereafter when he do that things. But the problem with those advices is that you don't come out with something that is very pleasing for him to listen to. You don't come out with something that will encourage him for not doing that thing. You don't come out with something that will guide him, or that will make him to will to do something that is very good. So here is why we are talking about Maw'izah Hasanah, so that we can deliver these advices in a very polite way, in a very good way. So based on this context, I'll be talking about three things, which are the first one, how is the concept of Maw'izah Hasanah in the Quran? And then the second one, what are the criteria, or what are the do's and the don'ts that we have to bear in mind when we are talking about, or when we are practicing, or when we are implementing this Maw'izah Hasanah in our daily life. And then the last one will be a little bit discussion about things that you can implement, and how to implement this Maw'izah Hasanah in your daily life. So moving on to the next part of this Maw'izah Hasanah. So the definition of Maw'izah Hasanah, as I've mentioned earlier, Maw'izah is advice or guidance. So what is Maw'izah Hasanah? We have a few definitions about Maw'izah Hasanah. Some of the experts mention that Maw'izah Hasanah is just to leave bad things or bad deeds. But what we can conclude from all these contextual definition mentioned by the scholars, number one, Maw'izah Hasanah is giving good lessons and good advices. And what is the objective of giving these good lessons? And what is the objective of giving these good advices? Is that those people who commit bad deeds will leave those bad things. And how do we give these good lessons or advices? Through encouragement or through warning. Yes, I've mentioned earlier that once we we come up with something that will make it make it look like it is something like that is frightening, it will somehow will not attract people to listen to our advices. But sometimes when we have encouraged them many times to do good deeds, but they are not willing to do so, they are still doing something that is very bad. So somehow we have to remind them on what will happen in the hereafter, after we died, what will happen to them if they continuously doing these bad deeds. So that is because, that is why we said that in the concept of Maw'izah Hasanah, we want to deliver to them the good lessons and advices, and those good lessons and advices we use to ensure that they will leave these bad things. And how do we convey these good lessons or advices? Through encouragement or through warning. So number two, the second definition of this concept of Maw'izah Hasanah is using language. So how do we use this language? This language can be either verbally conveyed, or can be written, or can be something that is that we use sign language or instructions. But what the most important thing that is that these languages must be something that is very affectionate, something that is very pleasing for us to listen to, something that is very easy for us to accept, something that will not ever hurt those people that we are giving advices to them. So the problem with us today, we tend to talk about somebody who have done bad deeds very badly. For example, once a friend of you doing something that is very bad, you will never go to him or her and say, you don't have to do you don't have to do this, or you must not do that, and you must not do that or do this. But what happened is that you go to her or his, or to go to him or her and say that, oh, you will directly go to the hell, or something that is very bad for him to listen to, something that is very that will make him or her to abandon you later on. So choice of word, the use of the language is very important in practicing or in implementing this Maw'izah Hasanah. The third part will be the affection. Why do we need this affection? Because we need to, once we want to implement this Maw'izah Hasanah, we want them to leave those bad things. We want them to leave those bad things by touching the soul of those people. Why do we need to touch the soul of those people? Because we don't want them to leave those bad things or bad deeds simply because they are annoyed by our advices, in which we repetitively go to them and preach them every day. But then we want them to leave those bad deeds simply because they are willing to leave those bad deeds and they are willing to do good deeds later on. So that is why affection is needed, for us to touch their soul, for them to really willingly do leave those good bad deeds, and for them to willingly improve their good deeds later on. And then number four will be expression. Once we are talking about or once we are giving advices to those people, we have to give them wholeheartedly. Why? Something that is coming from something that comes from the heart will touch the heart. I think every one of you have heard about this word or this quote, in which when we are talking from heart, that advices will also touch the heart. When that words of advices touch the heart, that words or that advices will remain engraved in their heart. And what will happen next? They will leave those bad things, not because they are tired of listening to our advice, but they feel guilty on doing that things, in doing those bad deeds, and eventually they will leave those bad things and they will improve their good deeds, and it will help them to be a better person. So this is the four most fundamental things about Maw'izah Hasanah, in which we are going to give them good lessons and advices by using appropriate language, by using appropriate signs or body languages, by using strong propositions or instructions, by using something that is very affectionate for them, Because why? We need those affections to touch the soul. Once we have touched the souls, it will somehow help them to willingly do something that is very good, uh, just simply because, just not because of us, but because they want to do that. So at the end of the day, they will improve their good deeds, and at the end of the day, we have helped somebody to become a better person. So that is what Maw'izah Hasanah is all about. So moving on to the next part, I'll be touching a little bit about do's and don'ts, since we have discussed about what is the concept of Maw'izah Hasanah. We have to we have to discuss also about the do's and don'ts, so that we can a little bit have a little bit guidelines on what we can do and what we cannot do. So we'll start with the do's first. First one, when you're going to talk with somebody, you have to always look at your best. What does it mean by look at your best? You don't you must not go to someone and when you want to talk about something or you want to give an advice to someone, you have to look at your best, in which you have to be a very you have to look like someone that is very approachable, someone that is very somehow you have to be a little bit tidy, or someone that looks very nice to talk to. But I'll just give you an example. If you are going to talk with somebody, but you are just wearing something that is very improper. For example, you're just wearing short, and you're just wearing, for example, you are just wearing short or singlet maybe, and you go to someone and uh tell him that, oh, brother, you cannot do this because this is something that is very bad in our religion. Our religion has mentioned that you cannot do this, and you if you do this, you will directly go to the hell or something like that. But at that time, at the moment you give the advice to the people, or to that brother, you are wearing short, in which it is something that is very improper, and you are also wearing singlet. Singlet is not something that is badly improper, but somehow when you are going to talk about something that is very relatable to religion, it is better for you to wear something that is very proper. So you have to always look at your best. You have to be simple, informal, and moderate. Sometimes when we are going to approach somebody, we tend to approach them in a very formal way. For example, there is this boy, or there is this student. Uh, he has a problem. He has done something bad. But when you are going to talk, when you want to approach him, you go to him, and it's something like you go and be some sort of using such a very formal you create a very formal situation. For example, how can I give a very formal example? Um, I think for me, if you go to approach somebody and you mention your name, and then you mention that, okay, I am, for example, I am Ahmad, and I am the president of these and those, and I am blah 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 blah. You mention every single things, especially about your career, and and something that relate with your career, that is related with your career. It seems like you are doing those things very formally. So what will happen next? The person that you have been approached just now will tend to not talk about every single thing that he or she is facing that time. Because why? Because formal situation or formal approach is something that is not pleasing for these kind of people. They want to be something, they want to have a very informal talk. They want to have something that is very simple for them to just listen, and it is just like a daily conversation. but you just have to insert something somewhere so that you can ensure that you can deliver these advices to them. And the third one, you have to welcome people warmly. You cannot just simply go and approach people and just mention, hey brother, ataupun using a very bad word, something like you're calling them with bad names, or simply shout at them with their names or something like hey, hoy, whatsoever. But then you can what have you have to do, or what you must to do is that you have to welcome them warmly. For example, you can just go to them and greet them warmly, or and start with something that is very relatable for you and him or her, and then slowly get into the main agenda, which is to give them advices. And then number 4, one of those things that you have to do is that to listen carefully, to show. Why do we have to listen carefully? To show deep concern about what they are talking about. To not only to show deep concern, but then when we listen something attentively, when we listen to their words carefully, we can analyze what is happening actually. And we can, by analyzing these things, we can come up with something that is very proper or that is suitable for them, because each and every person differs in terms of receiving or accepting or absorbing advices. So we have to listen carefully to them, and then it is not only to show them deep concern, in which this deep concern is very important, so that we can get more informations and we can analyze those things very what we call that, properly or accurately. So this is the next one. And then when moving on to the next one, yes, we know that they have done something that is very bad. Yes, we know that they have committed something that is very bad for us. Yes, we know that they have committed sins. But you have to bear in mind that every people in this world, they have that good side of them. So when you know that they have this good quality in them, you don't have to express, or you don't have to only stress on the bad deeds that they have done, but you have to also praise the good quality. Why? This is the stage in which we encourage them to continuously do those good quality. So what will happen if we only focusing on those bad deeds that they have done? They will think that, oh, although I have done something that is very good, although I have helped some people, although I have done something that to the society, but then people will only look at me badly just because I have done one thing that is very bad. So what will happen next? He will feel that people will never appreciate his good deeds. He will see that people will never uh, look at him in a way that he has that good quality in his personality. So what will happen next is that he will eventually leave those good deeds. He will continue to do those bad deeds. Because why? Because people will only focus on his bad deeds, although he has done many good deeds in his life. So that is why we have to praise them for the good quality, but not. I'm not saying this that we have to only praise them for the good quality. We have to also include in this praise how do those bad deeds will eventually uh, destroy all these good deeds in his life, so that he will leave those bad deeds and he will continuously do the good deeds. And then number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 6, we have to tolerate with people. We have to bear in mind that everybody has committed something bad. We have to bear in mind that they already admitted their faults and shortcomings. So Don't put the blame on them fully, but you have to be someone that can tolerate with people, so that you can accept their faults, so that you can accept their shortcomings, so that they know that that these are their faults, that these are their shortcomings, and at the end of the day they will start to avoid doing these faults, start to not repeat their faults, or start to overcome their shortcomings. And the last one that I want to mention, it is not the last do's in concepts of Maw'izah Hasanah. The last one I want to mention is that to address people according to their level of understanding. For example, when we are talking when we are going to advise somebody that has not really that does who does not really understand Islamic understand really the religion of Islam very well, we cannot go through them and say that mention that, oh, according to this maqasid sharia blah 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 blah, then and then we say that we mention that, oh, according to this hadith and according to that things and things. So they cannot even understand those things, and what will happen is that that will be a very useless discussion, that will be very useless advices. Because why? You are only talking to them, but they will never absorb those things, they will never understand the advices that you have given to them. So you have to address them up to their level of understanding. So if you're approaching somebody that you know that he will only understand by using examples that is very relatable to his life, so you have to come up with these advices that is very relatable to his life, so that he can understand, so that he can absorb the advices, so that he can practice the advices later on. So these are the do's in the concept of Maw'izah Hasanah. Moving on to the next part, which is the don'ts. The first one, you have to avoid giving advices when you are stressed. Why? Because when we are stressed, we tend to say or come up with something that will hurt somebody, that will even hurt us, or we cannot think something very rationally. So that is why avoid giving advices when you are stressed. Next one, don't contradict yourself. For example, you told these people to not, I'll just give you an example. You see your friend go for an go to somewhere, to a restaurant, and eat with, your friend is a boy and he go to a restaurant and eat with a girl. So you, what after you saw them went out for eating together, only both of them, one girl and one boy. And what you do is that once he has come back from the restaurant or the cafe, you told him that, oh, you cannot do that, you cannot be with a girl together with a girl, and you cannot eat together, and everything you mention everything about ikhtilat and something and anything that is relatable with that things. But then tomorrow, when the one that you gave advices yesterday, went to the cafe and he saw you yourself doing the same thing that he has done, what will he think about you? And what will happen with those advices? He will never ever listen to your advices ever again. Because why? He will only think that, oh, this boy or this guy, he only know how to advise people, but he don't know how to practice the advices that he has given to people. So the most important thing in giving or in practicing Maw'izah Hasanah is that you cannot just come up with advices, but you have to practice those advices. You cannot only talk to people and tell people that you are doing this wrong and you are doing this right. You cannot do this and you must not do that. But then you yourself do those things that you mentioned to the people that you cannot do that, or you must not do this. This will make those people that you have advised think that, am I the only person that is prohibited for me to do those things? or didn't I good enough to do those things? Especially when you are talking about someone that is very, very that we look up in the society or in the community. So you have to bear in mind that giving advices is not only to those who you give the advices. Giving advices is also applicable to us, the one who gives the advices. I'm not talking about anybody, or I'm not talking about this thing only for you. I'm reminding myself also to not contradict myself when I'm giving advices to anybody. So number 3, you have to avoid criticism, and you have to avoid overlooking faults. For example, when someone admits that he has done something very bad, you don't have to criticize them for doing that. But what you have to do is that you have to make sure, you have to tell them that, oh, you have done this, and we cannot go back to the what we call that, we cannot go back to the yesteryears, or for us to change, or for us to not doing that thing ever again. But what we can do is that we can take that things, or we can make that faults of our bad deeds as a lesson for us to not doing that ever again. So that is how you have to advise or practicing concept of Maw'izah Hasanah in this world. And then when we are talking about giving advices, it is, of course, it relates to two parts, or two parties. So there will be some arguments happen in between them, or between those two parties. So what you have to do is that when you come up with some advices, they might refuse to listen to those advices, and there might be some arguments. So when these arguments happen, and you think that this argument will be a never end argument, or an endless argument, what you have to do is that you have to avoid these useless arguments. It is better for you to stop at that moment, and then you can come up with another try next time when you think that the time is proper or appropriate. And the last one will be, do not discourage them. I'm sorry for the S here. If you get no result, meaning that once you have done this thing, you don't have to think that it will succeed immediately. Because why? It is quite hard to change people. Even if we want to change ourselves, it is quite hard to change ourselves. Even we have those, we can control ourselves, but it is still hard for us to control ourselves and change ourselves. So how can we change people in just a few seconds? So you have to not discourage them, or you have to not get discouraged by not getting the results that you are hoping for. And then do not insult or use bad words or something that will hurt people. That is the most important thing in this, in practicing Maw'izah Hasanah. So basically, we are going to talk about the last part of this session, which is the practical part. Since we are living now in this world full of hate speech, full of hatred, full of information, which is easily accessed by all people around the globe. So there are few things that you have to bear in mind in order to manage your knowledge. The first one is the information. Once you have received the information, you have to bear in mind that you cannot simply accept that information before you go and look for that information, either it is correct or not. Because why? In this era, we can just simply post anything on the net. We can just simply post anything on the social media, and then it will widely spread in a very short time. For example, how can you see nowadays people tend to insult another people when they do something wrong, and when they are doing those things wrongly, what will happen there is that the message or the post will be spread widely in a very short time, a short period of time. But then when we are talking, but the most or the most dangerous thing is that most people will simply share those information just because many of us have shared that information. They will never think that either this information is correct or not. That is why Allah said in Quran, فَإِذَا جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا. You have to ensure that the information that you received is either it is correct or not. And the next one is that when you have this knowledge, you have to practice the knowledge and you have to have insights about this knowledge. And once you have practiced this knowledge, and once you know that this information is correct, and once you know that something that is being done by somebody is not correct, you have to give them advices, because this is how we disseminate this knowledge. This is how we spread this knowledge to others. So what will happen next is that we have this improvement. We have many people can improve their life. Many people can improve their good deeds and leave all their bad deeds. And how do we manage, or how can we use this era, or this Internet of Things, IoT, or how can we use this technology? You have to use this technology properly. Because why? Everything that you have posted on your social media can be saved by anybody. Everything that you have posted on your, for example, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, everything that you have posted there, even if it is not something that really happened in this world, that even if that is something that didn't really happen, people will look at it as if it happens. And what will happen next? If it is something that is very bad, if it is something that relates with somebody else, people tend to save those posts. And what will happen? They will not only save those posts that you have posted on your social media account, they will also spread these messages to all people that they think this will be a very good, it is not a very good thing. It is going to be a very controversial things for every people to know. So before you post something on your social account, before you upload something on your social media account, you have to bear in mind that you have to think carefully. You have to only post something that really happens in your life, something that will never affect you or will never affect other people. Because why? The information or everything that you have posted in social media will be disseminated or will be spread widely in just a very short period of time. Sometimes you have just uploaded that thing in just for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, but and after 5 minutes you delete the post, and what will happen next is that you realize that your post has been screenshot and has been spread widely to other people. And what is the most dangerous thing about this thing is that the worst case scenario will happen if the thing that you post is not something that really happened in this world, that is not something that really happens to you. But then once this post has been disseminated or spread widely to the others, it will come to an extent that we cannot even control these posts. And what make it even worse is that it will affect other people. So this is what you have to bear in mind. You want to post something, you want to spread something, you have to know that you have to ensure that that information is correct, that everything you upload on your social media is something that really happened in your life. You don't have to share everything that happened in your life in your social media. Yes, might be there are only you only accept a certain circle of your friends or maybe your members, but then we don't know that every members of us, every friend of us is really a good friend. The most dangerous thing is that today's friend can be our tomorrow's enemy. So everything that you choose to post, everything that you choose to share, everything that you choose to uh, make it public, please bear in mind that those things must be something that will never affect you badly in the future. So that is how we manage the knowledge and how we can practice the concept of Maw'izah Hasanah in this era, in which this era we have a very vast information. We have so many platforms to share information. We have so many accounts to disseminate these informations. And next one, I'll be talking about a little bit practical of this or implementation of this concept of Maw'izah Hasanah in in our daily life. Um, I would love if anybody can share how can we practice this concept of Maw'izah Hasanah in these few situations that I'll be giving or I'll be sharing with you in this slide. Sorry. The first one, how can we um, how can we practice or implement concept of Maw'izah Hasanah in our daily conversations? If you have any ideas, you can just simply post on your YouTube live chat because I can read all those comments and then I can we will be discussing those in this session. Oh, I have a question there. Can I answer the question now? I think I can just answer. This is a bit sensitive, but what about girls who post their selfies or videos without wearing a hijab? Even they upload it in private account or close friends. As a friend, what should I do? As I've mentioned earlier, once we upload something on a social media account, even if it is a private account, even if it is only for certain friends of yours, even if it only for your family members, even if it is only for someone or somebody that you trust the most, but you have to bear in mind that those somebodies, that those friends of you will never be your only friend forever. Because why? The most dangerous thing in life is that today's friend can be our tomorrow's enemy. So we don't have to really share everything that happened in our life. We don't have to really post every single thing that happened in our life on social media. We don't know what those people will do. We don't know what those people will do with our post. So as a precautionary step, please do not upload something that will affect you badly in the future. But as a friend, what can you do is that you may advise him. You may advise him or her. You can, but then it is up to her at the end of the day, even either to listen to your advices or not, because we don't really know what is happening to her or to him, but at least we try to uh, advise him or her to not doing those things. Okay, I'll give you an example, especially when we are talking about girls or who didn't wear or who don't wear hijabs. People tend to just insult them. People tend to just told them that to just tell them that, oh, you are not wearing hijab. You will be somebody that will be in hell forever. Allah will never forgive you. And everything that has been listed there, everything that has been advised to that girl is something that is very threatening. They don't come up with something that is very pleasing for that girl to listen to. Once we only use threats in advising people, it will somehow make them feel that, oh, I've done this thing. So Allah already hate me. Allah will never forgive me. I'll be in hell forever for sure. Because what has that person said to me, told me that you will be in hell. Allah will hate you. Because why? Because you didn't wear hijab. That that perception will remain in their mind. And what will happen next? It will be harder for you to make sure that he or she will leave those bad deeds. You are not advising him or her to leave those bad deeds, but somehow you are discouraging them to not doing good deeds, because you come up with the threats of them doing that bad deeds, which they will only think that, oh, I've done these things, so what can I do? Because why? Because I will only be in hell forever. Allah will only hate me forever. Try to come up with something that when they listen to your advices, when they listen to your words, that they feel like they have this second chance of doing these good deeds. They have the second chance of being a good girl or a good boy. They have the second chance to be uh, in the right path. So this is why concept of Maw'izah Hasanah is very important in giving advices. Oh, I think this is the example of daily conversations. There is someone here say that address someone with names that they are comfortable with, but as Muslim, it is advisable for to call someone with a name that gives meaning. For example, Hakim, which means the wise, instead of Kim. Yes, in daily conversations, we have to, as a Muslim, I think it is advisable for us to not calling somebody with very bad names or a name that has no meaning. His father, and his mother has thought about that names very, very. I think that they might take about 9 months for at most, or maybe some of them has thought about their child's name since right after they get married. So they have given their child with a very good name. Why don't you use those names to call their children? So because why everything that we mention in our daily life is a dua. So who knows that when we call someone Hakim, for example, and he will be a very wise man later on, just because we keep on repeating that name and that name has a very good meaning. And one more thing is that in our daily conversations, we tend to call our friend with something that is very bad, something that is very, very not nice to listen to. For example, most of you love to use these words in calling, or maybe it just to act or just to use this word as a fillers in your sentence. For example, when you talk with your friend, you tend to say something like this. Oh, aku dah buat lah benda tu tadi, and then at the end of the word, at the end of the sentence, there will be a word like bodoh, bangang, or something like that. I'm sorry to mention those words. And then what happen is those yang dibodohkan, yang dibangangkan, yang dibinatangkan tu semua, they reply they reply the sentence that has been mentioned by his friend or her friend. It is something like, oh, are you really bodoh or are you really bangang sampai you admit that your friends, your friends are calling you. For me, if you want to stop this situation, you can just simply ignore those friends who have who calls you with those words. So once you ignore them, it will make them like, oh, this boy or this guy, he doesn't love, or he doesn't like people calling him bodo bangang or whatsoever. So I have to change, and I have to call him by his name, so that we can have a very good daily conversations here. Okay, when I advise somebody to stop doing bad things such as underestimate others, immediately I'll be labeled as judgmental. I'm confused. Is there any indicator shows whether our words are menghukum or not? That is why I have mentioned earlier that you have to wisely choose your words. Sometimes we think that that word is very nice, and we think that that word will never hurt people. That word is not that would reflect that we are not judging them. But sometimes those people think that we are judging them, especially. So that is the most important part of this practice, to implement or to practice this Maw'izah, concept of Maw'izah Hasanah. You have to wisely choose word. Try not to use the word that will look like you are judging them. For example, I'll give you an example. When somebody or someone is doing bad things or underestimating others, you cannot go and approach them by saying that directly mentioning that they are underestimating others. Because why? When you mention that they are underestimating others, it means that you have judged them by underestimating others. So what you have to do is that you can simply come up with something like macam, oh, it is not nice for you to say this guy is not clever or something like that. You have to change your words. You have to come up with you have to rephrase your sentence so that it sounds like you are not judging them, but somehow the point or the objective of that of giving advices is there. So that is how you can implement this Maw'izah Hasanah in your life. And the second situation is that somehow perli tu pun boleh lah, sebab we are not talking about that. We are not mentioning that directly, but then we try to make sure that, oh, once that people or that person or that guy listen to your words, he will immediately think that, oh, have I done something bad? Have I done something that hurt people? Have I done something that make people feel underestimated? That is how you can advise people, but perli juga lah. But then make sure that those words will never hurt people. Sometimes when we do these things, we tend to use a very harsh word that eventually we will hurt those people. And what will happen next? There will be a many problems happen right after those things happen. So the next one, which is the situations in which we have, as the Muslim, we have the obligations to another Muslims. So this is, I think, it is quite relatable with these daily conversations. Okay, sometimes I'll just give you an example. You have this friend of you, which you think that, oh, he is better than you. He's better than you in each and every aspects in your life. For example, education. He is better than you in his curriculum and everything. But then one day he did something wrong. He commits something bad. So you feel that he is higher than you, he is better than you, think that I must advise him to not doing that things. But how can I advise him? How can I approach him if I think that he is much better than me? And when I approach or advise him, it will be something that is very useless, because he will never listen to you, because he will think you, or he will think you as only somebody that is not at the par of somebody like him. So how can you advise or practice this Maw'izah Hasanah in this situation? There is another question. So I have a question. If I have an estranged friend, should I approach that person or not? Or just leave the responsibility to people close to her, because chances are that person wouldn't listen to me. Basically, when we want to give an advice to others, the first thing that we have to get is that we have to get their attention first. But if you have an estranged friend and you think that you can get back to him or her, you can make sure that he or she can accept everything that you advise him or her, then you may go. And then you may approach him, or you may approach that person. But then if you think that by doing that will make things even worse, I would suggest that let somebody that is close to her, him or her, to uh to advise him or her by not doing those bad deeds or everything. But then what can you do is that you can somehow help that somebody or that people that is close to her or him to on how to give advice to that person. So moving on to the third part, which is the good examples. As we are here, I'll just relate this a little bit with IIUM. So as we are the students of IIUM, International Islamic, the word Islamic here, you have to bear in mind that you will be an alumni of, you will be the alumni of an Islamic universities. So once people out there know that you are from an Islamic universities, their expectation is very high. But what happened nowadays is that I can't really see that Islamic environment is really happening in these Islamic universities. So you have to bear in mind that even if you are not taking courses or Islamic courses, you are a Muslim. You have these obligations to another Muslims. You have this obligation as Muslims. You have to give good examples as a Muslim. You have to be you are born to be the vicegerents of Islam. So even if you are not taking IRK, for example, even if you are not taking Islamic courses, for example, even if you only you are taking engineering, you are taking laws, for example, you have to bear in mind that as a Muslim, you have to uh, give good examples to others, especially for the non-Muslim. But I would say that it is quite disappointed for me to see that this Islamic environment has yet to be implemented in this campus. I can see many things that is not very proper for me to see. That is not a very good example as a Muslim, and that is not a very good example and as a student in an Islamic university. So what I hope is that if you have to bear in mind that you have these obligations or towards another Muslims, you have this obligation, this responsibility to ensure that each of us is practicing the right path, the right ways of life, so that we can again practice those things and we can again give good examples to others. I don't want to see those from this university, for example, or those Muslims students nowadays will give bad examples to others. People tend to think or to expect that, oh, this boy or this guy is a graduate of IIUM. So even if he is an engineering student, even if he is a law student, I think I'm sure that he can lead the prayer. I'm sure that he can answer everything. Yes, that is not good for that is not I mean, like, that is incorrect for the society to expect that. But since the society are expecting us to have those, why can't us try or strive to achieve those expectations? It is not that uh, it is not that bad for us to just try to get or to understand Islam or understand what is our religion is all about deeper and deeper, even if we are not taking hierarchy courses, for example, even if we are not taking Islamic courses. Because why? Because that is an obligation of a Muslim towards another Muslim and towards his religions. So I would I would love to mention a few things in this session. I would love to uh, advise all of you to not doing things that will reflect something that is very bad for us to do, something that is not nice for us to see, something that is somehow something that is prohibited for us to do. Yes, it is your choice to do or not to do, but then people will think about you badly if they uh look or they see you doing something bad. Yes, we cannot limit people as assumption. We cannot limit people bad assumption on us. But why should we do something that will leave us with bad assumptions? Why should we do those things that will affect us badly? Why can't we just not doing why can't we just not doing those things, and at the end of the day we won't face any problems or any bad assumptions by the others. And the last one will be this concept of Maw'izah Hasanah. It starts with individual as individual level, in which we as the Muslims, as the Muslim must practice this thing first. So once we have practiced this thing, it will widely spread in the society or in the community. So it will eventually help us to practice this concept of Maw'izah Hasanah in a very big level, or in a very wide level, or wider community. So I think that is all from me today. Is there any other questions? You may post the questions on live chat box. And if there is no other questions, then I'll pass the floor to the MC. We have like around another 5 minutes or 7 minutes before we stop. So if there is any other questions, and then you may post them on YouTube live channel. And if I can answer, then I'll answer. I think there is no question on YouTube live chat box. So thank you, and I hope that my sharing here today will help you or will enlighten a little bit about the concept of Maw'izah Hasanah and how can we practice this concept of Maw'izah Hasanah in our life as a student, as a Muslim, as well as a responsible individual in this society or in this community. And I think that is all from me. So thank you for listening and thank you for joining me in the live chat box. And I hope this will benefit us all. And this sharing session is not only for all of you, but it's also for me to remind myself as a Muslim also. So thank you. I'll pass the floor to Brother Fahmi. Fadal.
Thank you, sir. Ikmal. Okay, so thank you to our speaker, Sir Ikmal Hakimi, for the sharing. I hope all of you can get something beneficial in this talk. So guys, Alhamdulillah, this is the very last Ibadah camp for batch 2021. We humbly want to thank you guys for giving such a great commitment for this program. I, Mohamad Fahmi Ikmal, represent all the committees in Ibadah camp, would like to apologize for any inconvenience from us. Before we end, I would like to inform you guys there's evaluation form for you guys to fill in the Telegram. This form is compulsory to fill as it will be count as your attendance. So we close our program today by reciting Tasbih Kafarah and Suratul As. So guys, don't forget to fill the form. And wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.